everyone, welcome to the new video. So today we will see some DevOps interview question on AWS and Linux, and I have covered these questions because these questions will test that whether you have actually worked on AWS. So the concept, not only the concept, but the real hand-on part. So without further ado, let's start our video. So our first question, it is not AWS based, but the question is on Kubernetes, that how to stop a communication between pods in two different namespaces. So first of all, if there are, see the pods, communication is already there. If you have to stop a communication between two pods in two different namespaces, you need to do it by defining a network policy that restrict ingress or egress traffic. So by default, pods are non-isolated, so you need to explicitly create policies that deny traffic from another namespace unless allowed. So for example, we have to use a namespace selector or pod selector in the network policy and define rules that allow traffic from specific namespace or pod. If no rules allow cross and namespace traffic, it will be denied depending on the CNI plugin supporting network policy. Okay, so I have one resource in AWS account A and I need to create a connection of another resource present in AWS account B. How that connection be established? So I have one resource in AWS account A, and if I give if my question that it will be in another VPC and in AWS account B and it's in another VPC. Okay, so how that connection will be established? It will be through VPC peering or other cross account connectivity option depending on the use case. To connect a resource in AWS account with another resource in AWS, you can establish a VPC pairing connection. And how it works, like we have to create a VPC request from one account, then accept it from the another account, then update the route tables. There are other ways also, like we have transit gateway. So from transit gateway, we can connect multiple VPCs. Okay, through transit gateway, that is also one way. Then we have private link for exposing specific services securely, and we have VPN or direct connect also. Then we have another question: how will you increase the disk space attached to a Linux server? So you need to increase first the storage, like if it's a EBS volume which is attached, or we need to expand the storage, and then we need to resize the file system on which that storage is mounted. Okay, now how will you restrict access to a S3 bucket for specific object? So by using S3 bucket policies or IAM policies with object level permission, we need to restrict the access to a S3 bucket for a specific object. Now if I have to install some software in an EC2 instance when it is created and it is up and running, how can we do it? So best way is using user data. Okay, we can do it. Now where we will keep your NAT gateway? So basically NAT gateway is to connect the private subnet resources to internet. So so NAT gateway should be in public subnet ideally. So a NAT gateway is used to allow instance in a private subnet to access the internet, so without exposing them to inbound internet traffic. To function properly, NAT gateway must be placed in a public subnet, and it must be associated with an elastic IP. Requires a route to an internet gateway, because we have to secure the access of private subnet resources. That's why it should be having the elastic IP, and it should be in a public subnet, and it requires a route to an internet gateway. So yeah, all these questions I will give in description box for your reference. So that's all. So that's all for today's video. I hope it's helpful. Please let me know views in the comment section. Till then, take care. Bye.